x minus 1 is a factor of x cubed plus 3x squared plus 2x minus 6. Find the remaining factors. What this really means is that x cubed plus 3x squared plus 2x minus 6 is equal to x minus 1 times by some other factor. Okay, if x minus 1 is a factor, that means it can be multiplied by something directly to get to that one. What is in here? Well, if this is a cubic and this is linear, what's in here has to be a quadratic. Ax squared plus bx plus c. Now we could approach this in a very similar way to what we did in the last question, which is use the grid method to expand this and make those comparisons. Now that would absolutely work. But this is something you're going to do quite a lot in this course, this specific type of problem. So let's see if we can do it in a slightly quicker way than having to use the full grid method. So I've got x cubed plus 3x squared plus 2x minus 6. And I know that's going to be equal to x minus 1 times by some quadratic. Now let's look bit by bit to see what we could work out here. So first of all, we've got 1x cubed. Now the only way we can get x cubed is x times by the x squared term. There's 1x cubed, which means that has to be just x squared to give us 1x cubed. Now we also have the constant term, minus 6. The only way we get minus 6, a constant, is by doing the two constants multiplied, minus 1 times whatever this constant term is. To get minus 6 out of that, that means this has to be plus 6. Finally, we have to look at how we're going to get the x squareds or the x's. It doesn't particularly matter which one we choose. I'm going to choose to do the x squareds. 3x squareds. Now, how could I get x squared on this side? Well, I could have minus 1 times by x squared, or I could have x times by whatever number of x's there are there. So currently I have got minus x squared, and I need 3x squared, which means I need 4 more x squareds. And those 4x squareds have to come from this multiplication pair here. That means this is going to have to be 4x. X times 4x would give me 4x squared. Finally, in my head, I'm going to do a quick check. Does this work for the 2x? How could I get x's? I could either do x times 6, 6x, or minus 1 times 4x. So 6x minus 4x is indeed 2x. So it works. So that means that I'm very likely correct. So now I've worked out the second factor, the quadratic factor, when x minus 1 is a linear factor. That quadratic does not factorize itself any further. So I can't go any further in this particular question because I can't factorize this quadratic into two linear functions. So that is my final answer. The final remaining factor is x squared plus 4x plus 6. Now, as I said, we could have chosen to do this by using the grid method. You could have set up a grid by doing ax squared plus bx plus c and x and minus 1 down the side, doing the expansion and comparing the coefficients just as we did in the previous example. This method is just a little bit quicker than going through this full process for most people. Obviously, if you're not sure about that and you would prefer to use the grid method, absolutely use the grid method. It is much better to be accurate than quick. You're going to get more marks by being accurate than by rushing through things. So if you feel more comfortable with the grid method, do it using the grid method and compare those coefficients that way. If you're aiming for a grade 6 or grade 7 though, being able to do it the quick way is going to save you precious time that's going to help you when you get to those more difficult, challenging questions towards the end of the paper, where all the time that you can save during the rest of the exam is going to help.